Our state has some incredible problems. My name is Lynn, Hinderaker. I'm here to talk about that with you and talk about the trends that have shaped this state and dragged us in one direction or another. We're not really we're not realizing the dream we had way back in the early 2000s or even around 2008 or 9 or 10. My name is Lynn Hinderaker. Welcome to WowBiz Nebraska. We're going to get it on right now. What is the key factor for success in your company right now in this strange era? Lots of turbulence, excitement, different things coming up and then slipping away. Not all of us are sure what we should be doing. I'm going to tell you right now, the key factor for success is creativity. Creativity is the essence of your ability to adjust, to see what's coming, to turn things this way or that way as the business is coming towards you or your competition is coming towards you. The new managerial mindset is about creativity. Now, I'm going to give you an example right now. This is a great little story to give you an example of how to apply it. And of course, as you might know or recall, I love symbols and metaphors, and I'm going to share that with you. Several years ago, I was giving a presentation to a large group of small business people in Lincoln, Nebraska, and it was all about selling. And I had an inspiration, a revelation, maybe just an insight. I was watching Dance with the Stars a few weeks earlier. And I noticed as I'm watching, this is all ballroom dancing, as you might recall, on this particular TV show, very popular, and all kinds of stars and so on are dancing with each other, and they're doing some very exciting and fanciful moves and so on. And it occurred to me that selling and communication, persuasive relationship building, shall we say, had a lot to do, from a symbolic point of view now, with the dancing and the way the two people are interacting with each other. Now, this is about creativity, so stay with me. And I noticed that the man would grab the woman and he would go down like this and twist her around, and then various moves in alignment with each other, but not always in perfect alignment. They would do other individual flourishes, as you might recall. I'm sure it's coming to mind right now. And it kept occurring to me that this is some kind of it's a meaningful thing for me to see in a business context. So many salespeople, as you probably know, struggle. They have a hard time trying to figure out what do I say now, or how aggressively do I behave, and when do I get a chance to ask for the order, and what if they don't like me or they don't want to purchase the product right now, and how does all that kind of fit symbolically with the way that these two dancers were executing, shall I say. They were communicating with each other. Now, everybody would say, well, I guess, when you're dancing, you do have to kind of communicate with our bodies, to be sure, and sometimes with our faces as well, and our arms and so on. But the whole thing kind of came together in an equation. This is how the great salespeople approach working with and building a relationship with prospects. It was really quite amazing. And so I was talking to all of these people. I was sharing exactly what I'm sharing with you. And there's a lot of people in the audience that never sell. They're in that realm. And others that are salespeople, and many of them, I would say 8 out of 10, are frustrated. They don't seem to be getting as much progress as they thought they were supposed to do, and so on. So it's a tough thing, approaching a stranger and warming to them and developing rapport and having them trust you, and vice versa, in making a move together, right? We're not doing this or moving this way with our feet or whatever, but we are taking a look at a presentation maybe, or we're writing our names down or our orders on a piece of paper or whatever. So there's a whole process that has a lot of symbolic value there. Well, anyway, it's a very interesting thing, and I got through the whole thing. It was about maybe 10 minutes, something like that, 10, 12 minutes. And I had planned this out. I think this is a kind of a creative gesture. I had gotten 2 ballroom dancers, went and found them, and gave them a small fee and so on. We got music arranged, and we had tango music, as in South America with the genuine Bolivian tango and all that. And so we had a speaker, and sidebar kind of thing off stage. So I'm talking to the audience right now, just as I'm talking to you, and all of a sudden up comes this romantic, exotic tango music. Now this speaks to the creativity thing that we opened our show with. And people didn't know what to think. You know, they're looking around, and out come these two very attractive people, dressed to the nines, by the way, and they came right out and immediately began dancing beautifully with the music. And the people in the audience were just blown away because it's an element they didn't expect. It's out of context, right? Very interesting consideration as you think about becoming more creative in your development. And so we watched them a little bit, and then just a few seconds after that, I began injecting tongue-in-cheek, humorous commentary, shall I say, relating their dancing to the business world. Well, she's asking for a presentation. Right? And he's eager to talk about his unique selling proposition or his favorite feature that creates benefits for her. And he twirls her around and she seems real happy at that moment. And I'm saying this on the mic, so the audience hears kind of this little tongue-in-cheek commentary. I'm interpreting the dance in business-like terms, but of course they're chuckling by now. They get the metaphor, they understand it, they got a big grin on their faces, and they're having a good time with it. Now this is only about maybe 2-3 minutes into it. We don't want to go too far with it, and so then suddenly that was it. And she bought it. She went ahead and signed the contract, and he had brought her down like this and brought her up, and she was thrilled and high five or whatever it was, and she walked off, and the audience loved it, and they're clapping, and they thought it was wonderful because it had a pleasant surprise. A pleasant surprise. There was some extra value, entertainment value in this particular interaction. Well, that's kind of cool, but I'm not done. So they walked off, and I said, wow, that's wonderful, and I went back to my presentation about selling and the parallel between selling and ballroom dancing and the movement, the pacing. You think about it for a second, really has a lot there. They're very, very similar in a lot of ways. You have to kind of move. When she moves, and you have to move in the same way, right? Well, anyway, so we get through the next, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and I begin to wrap it up, right? And so I give them the idea that as we wrap up, blah, 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 and I'm kind of talking about this, you got to pay attention to metaphors, in life and symbols, and they're there for you. They speak to you. Don't be so logical. Don't be so left brain. Be right brain. Kind of be open to these kinds of motions and gestures and realize the real meaning below the obvious communication. Well, anyway, so I'm saying this. They're listening carefully, and oh my goodness, more music comes on. They didn't expect it a second time, of course. But this was a very different type of music. This was a much funkier, heavier music. Actually, it was a song by the rapper named Ludacris, pretty popular back then, and particularly. And he had a song that was fantastic application for this situation. It was called "When I Move, You Move." That was the name of the song. Can you believe that? Huh? So Ludacris is on there, and now all of a sudden we're getting kind of this funky sound, and I'm looking at the audience and I'm saying, hey, come on, everybody clap, stand up, let's go. When I move, you move, right? Because we're now distilling the whole thing down. Everything they saw 10 minutes ago is now being reiterated in some kind of a chant. And they took to it right away. This was kind of wrapping up lunch or whatever, I think, going into lunch. But anyway, they loved it. They could not believe it. They stood up and they're clapping and a high five. And this was a big room with many, many people in the room. And they are laughing and clapping and dancing. And there were younger people. They were loving it as well. When I moved, you move. And Ludacris was the winner in that particular thing. So I point this out only to let you know that I had a perfectly good message. And everybody probably would have understood the genuine value of it. But when I accented it creatively, not with one, but with two pieces of unexpected music, boom, right? Wow. That was exciting. The message cut through all the normal defenses and so on. So keep this in mind. It's just one example of utilizing creativity when you're out there working with people. Now, creativity Think of creativity as a jazz jam. I don't know if you've actually been in a place where a bunch of jazz artists are sitting maybe in a bar or something like this, and they're playing with each other. They have some kind of a general melody or something, but they're going way off. You know, they're singing in key and all that, but the trumpeter is going over here and he's doing a little solo while the pianist keeps the thing kind of moving from a melody point of view. And then somebody sings kind of on top of the trumpet or whatever the music is. And so it's a real creative, I would call it a jam, right? It's a jazz jam. You've heard of this kind of thing before. Well, anyway, so this is a very interesting thing as well, because a lot of us just don't think. When we go to the office, we got the computer there, I got my job to do, I got my work to do. There's a couple guys over here I kind of chat with now and then, but you know, not really too much, but so I just do my job, see? But the boss comes by and says, hey, we got to have a new product out the door in 30 days. I want the best idea you can come up with. I'll be waiting to hear your thoughts. Huh? Whoa. This is an opportunity to reach out and do something special. Say, hey guys, come up here. Now you got 2, 3, 4 people sitting around. They all have the same agenda, right? And now we're sitting in a little room somewhere or a table somewhat like this desk. And we're saying, well, what about this? And what's working? And what are our competitors doing? And we're talking, maybe we should be doing this. And somebody breaks in. I know, I got an idea over here. This is a good... And then another guy over there's, no, you're off one way. If you flip it over and you do it that way, and then we do it every other day, that would, yeah. So people are kind of, I don't know how to say it, you know, they're just kind of relaxing and lapping over their ideas verbally and so on, but some great stuff, see, some great things are happening here. That's how creativity becomes actionable. You start with this kind of a situation and you just kind of let it flow, almost like you're playing a trumpet, you know, and the music is just kind of drifting on top of here, and then the pianist gets on it, and then the singer's off stage and she walks on and starts singing on top of it, and they're all in tune. That's the key. And there is kind of a step, and maybe it's 4/4, whatever it is, but I'm just saying it's a really good example. Jazz, jamming, artists. And you know, these are people that they know that there is a discipline. You don't just go off in 17 different places and create a dissonant song. They're not doing that, or music. They're staying with it, and they're in the key. So there's nothing that would hurt your ears, right? But on the other hand, there's descant, and then there's more descant. They're getting on top of the music, and then they're hitting the high note, and then down here. This is very, very similar to the interaction between employees in all kinds of companies who are going, I'm thinking about this. This might be good. You guys like this idea? Well, what about that? Nah, it could be this. Oh, I didn't think about that. Boom, 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 boom. Here we go. See, I'm sure you're getting the idea. This is how business is created. This is how companies get a competitive edge. They let people go and challenge them and reward them, by the way, for jumping into it, not trying to be political or bureaucratic, or I came up with that 2 days ago, that's my idea. None of that, right? And they work together and they come up with something, then the boss comes over, he likes the idea, high five. You guys are going to get a little bonus next week. Thank you for getting into it for us. I'm going to get the operations people going. We're going to get that out there in the next couple of weeks. We might want to test it. All right, so you guys work on that. I'll see you soon. Thanks a lot. Great work. It only took 45 minutes for you to come up with that. Awesome. Excellent. All right? This is how business is. Now, I have to tell you, I've been in a lot of companies, worked in cities all over America, from Des Moines to San Antonio to Dallas, Los Angeles, San Francisco, all that. And in every case, I was in an environment like this, and sometimes it didn't work out. Sometimes people were uptight and they didn't want to share their ideas, or they didn't have any ideas, and they felt bad about it. They thought, well, I'm not too smart. I guess I don't have any. A good manager doesn't let any of that happen. So, very exciting, but again, creativity. And I'm going to put the word in front of it, actionable creativity. There's some people, oh, you guys are a bunch of flakes, you know. Actionable creativity. And of course, actionable creativity leads to, so it's just a hop, skip, and a jump to innovation. Innovation. And Nebraska is number 46 in America in innovation, so we need to listen up, pay attention, And don't get too uptight about experimenting. Try it again and again, tweak it, and keep that in mind, because that's how we attract money. That's how we attract people, young workers in particular. They want to be part of this kind of creative thing that I just tried to act out. Kind of interesting. Now, one of the things that I love to get into a little bit is words and new words, words that have been dreamt up. Oftentimes they're combined together somehow and they come up with some fusion. And by the way, back in 2002, I'll tell you this real quick. In 2002, I had a revelation. I paid attention to it, and it occurred to me that there was a word that defined, this was 2002, a word that defined the business chapter that we were in at that time. And I'm going to tell you right up to now. And that word is fusion. Fusion. Now, we all heard the word fusion, although you may not actually think about it very much, but it struck me at that moment that the convergence of people, the convergence of ideas, the convergence of opportunities, possibilities, right? And they fuse together, and there's more coming out of that than goes into it. In other words, 2 + 2 = 5. You know what I'm getting at. Some people call it synergy, by the way. But that's what I was calling it, was fusion. And then, so I called up the Omaha World-Herald. I kind of wrote a short distillation, called them up, said, hey, I got a trend topic for you. You may or may not find it interesting, but I think it might be interesting. And sure enough, they sent out a reporter, and she did a great story, kind of a medium-length story about the fusion trend. And here we are today. I'm just going to keep this really short because we have to go into the middle of the show, and our supporter here, our sponsor of this particular show. It's a very interesting thing right there. But we'll talk very briefly about what happens when fusion happens. A lot of small businesses, I'll keep this short, a lot of small businesses have a perfectly valid company. They have value, they have some employees, and they're sitting around and not enough people are coming into their store. They're not getting enough phone calls, not getting enough emails. They don't quite know what to do. Is this the best it's going to be? Blah, blah, blah. So they got to find some way to generate more revenue. And one word that a lot of you have heard by now, if you watch our show here, is urban natural. Urban natural, kind of a two-word thing, coming back, fusing together. And there are a lot of companies in the Omaha, Nebraska area that are, quote, urban natural, or are selling urban natural products and services. And they're doing their own thing, man. They're over here and they're down in Wahoo and they're downtown and whatever they're doing. Some people are landscapers, perfect example of urban natural. Some of them are gardeners. Some are interior designers that love the notion of blending wood and metal together inside of a home. Very urban natural. Grills, those kind of expensive, high-end, beautiful grills that you make hamburgers on, they're very urban natural. They're kind of outside the house, and working in a natural context. There's a lot of examples of urban natural companies, and they all need help. They all need customers. So what do you think about the idea of having a coalition, creating a coalition, kind of a group, cooperative group? They pledge to help each other succeed and so on. They refer to each other and send their people that they know to and back and forth and so on. I think a coalition of urban natural providers, I think there's probably 30 or 40 companies here in the Omaha area that would qualify and hopefully come to a meeting, suggest referrals and so on. That's my idea to you. I think in this new era, being constricted and staying inside the wall and just working and doing everything here, and this is how we do it, go away, blah, 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 all that. Those days are over. They don't work, right? You've got to be permeable. You've got to be able to reach out and bring in people, count on them, weave them into the mix, and help each other succeed. I guess that's the bottom line. That's the coalition idea. I'd love to hear your thoughts about that. Now, wow, we've come a long ways here in this show. This is WowBiz Nebraska. My name is Lynn Hinderaker. I'm so appreciative of you tuning in. Every single show we have a kind of a jewel, something interesting. We have companies wanting to work with us. And a new company has come into the Omaha area, and they are an unusual company, a fascinating company. And by the way, they do their thing with events. But the name of the company is Supermind. I'm going to say it again, Supermind. Not Superman, not supercharged, but Supermind. It's a very interesting operation. It's kind of an intellectual thing where they bring people together on a periodic basis and challenge them on business terms. I give them words or phrases to really think through in the business world, and that also personal growth, personal development. You know, there's a lot of, how do I say it, anxious, unhappy, joyless, uptight bosses and supervisors and owners and all that. And so their business may be profitable, but they may not be happy. And vice versa. There's other people who feel pretty good about life, but they're really not cranking out a lot of profit and a little nervous about the future in that regard. So what if, and I'm going to ask this is kind of an interesting question. I'm going to hold up this piece of paper. You'll see the Supermind logo, and you're going to see a lot of words on one page. It's almost like your brain, your left brain, your right brain. You have different thoughts in each area and so on. That's what we have here. We have a lot of words that relate either to business excellence or to personal development, personal growth, happiness, satisfaction, joy, et cetera, flow. Great word. So here we go right here. Here is the word. Now I know you're going to say, oh gosh, it sure is busy, a lot of words, a lot of boxes, et cetera, et cetera. This is a course, all right? This is a training course. Supermind will be charging attendees, doing it either Zoom or live, face-to-face, and talking with them, most of the time not individually, in a collective group, but all kinds of interesting, I don't want to call them games, but interaction and questions. They have to answer questions like so many business people struggle with. They struggle with, what do I really believe in? What's our brand story? What's our vision? What are we actually trying to accomplish? Now that's a great, and those boxes, by the way, those words are in little boxes on this sheet of paper. Again, this sheet of paper is like your brain. All the ideas and thoughts and everything else are in your brain. Here they are, right here. And then the other people are like, yeah, you know, what's the meaning of my company? What's the meaning of my job? Should I be in this industry? I'm not happy. How do I figure this out? What do I do? Can I experiment? Do I go somewhere? Do I get a life coach, somebody to teach me or challenge all my assumptions? You know, there's a lot of things, man. A lot of things that, you know, you got to work on in your career, but then you also have to figure out, you know, what makes me happy, no matter what my job is, all right? And these are really heavy duty and important questions for intelligent people that have reached a certain point in their lives where they want to understand, what am I doing? Where am I going? What do I stand for? And then obviously the facilitator and coach helps to work through with you, listen, ask important, thoughtful questions, and help you guide or at least feel better about where you're at right now. That's Supermind, M-I-N-D, Supermind, an incredible organization that's doing something I've never personally heard of before. So we welcome them to WowBiz Nebraska, a dynamite organization, very thoughtful and exciting and future-oriented. That's right, Supermind will get you to the next step. I love it. All right, well listen, we're moving quickly here. I gotta move over here and talk to you about chambers of commerce. I'm gonna do this quickly. Our show's wrapping up here, so many things to touch on, but several years ago, it occurred to me that there are chambers in the state of Nebraska, and they have a lot of members, and those members are business people who have problems. They have struggles. They have issues. They can't create enough value. They're not getting enough customers. They're not generating enough cash, whatever it is. And there should be at least one, but maybe more people on the local Chamber of Commerce staff, you know? And they should be the people who can field calls and say, okay, I'll be right out. Let's sit down and chat about it. And so, you know, being a member of the Chamber of Commerce should be a place where it's a go-to. But you got to have somebody who's actually qualified, right? You got to have somebody who actually enjoys this kind of thing, of course, and has a track record in transformation. So I've tried to be that person. It's not an easy thing to do. I'm going to read this on the inside flap of this book. It's an incredible book called Relevance, This very interesting man basically said chambers of commerce are becoming irrelevant, because they refuse to adapt and do things differently. But the world has changed. People don't have the same amount of time and so on. So I'm going to read this to you and we'll wrap up. A new landscape calls for radical change. We've heard that kind of thing before, haven't we? A new landscape, radical change. Today, Chamber of Commerce members expect value in return for membership. Why shouldn't they? They have a higher demand on their time, and more choices on how and from whom they can obtain information. Due to rapid changes in technology, competition, social networking, yet many chambers operate the same way they have for years. Start with this. What is your mission? What is your mission at your local chamber? Do you have the ability to go out and help customers or help members solve their current problems? I say, probably not. So you think about that. My name is Lynn Hinderaker. I'm with WowBiz Nebraska. I'd love to chat about that more with you, as well as chamber members and so on. How do we create value? How do we help people all over the state of Nebraska that have a Chamber of Commerce, but when you talk to those members and the staff, they're a little unclear. They work with civic leaders and so on, but many of them would say, I'm not qualified to go out and help them add value and so on. So that's a very exciting and cool opportunity. We need to step up. All right. So here we go. We're stepping up now. WowBiz Nebraska. I'm Lynn Hinderaker. Another great show. I look forward to seeing you again. You're going to learn something every time you watch this particular program. It's my privilege to be visiting with you today, and I'll see you very soon again. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.